Here we have get started with the Python programming language. Python is basically an object-oriented and easy to use programming language. Object-oriented in the sense it has the object-based classification and modularized programming and functional programming are supported with the Python programming language. And Python is a free software and interpreter and environment is available for download from python.org. We have a website over here that python.org. In the downloads you will have the download option of the Python complete installer. It depends upon your operating system like Windows, Linux, Mac OS. Depends upon your operating system. We can download the installer and we can get that install into our machine. And Python has interactive mode. It's something, yeah, kind of I can Python provides something kind of an interactive mode which provides and helps that to execute short snippet of codes, and we can get started with the programming at a very faster pace. Maybe I'm going to do print of hello Python over here, that we got the print function got executed and we have the output got created with the hello Python on the Python console. And in the programming language, we have the two different formats, something like a compiler and interpreter. Compiler is the one which compiles all the source code and generates a binary. And interpreter is the one which executes line by line, and if there is error in 10th line, then we will know at the time of execution of respective 10th line. Means in case of compilation, we will do all the files will be get compiled. Once all the errors are cleared, then only we can able to execute that particular application. In case of a Python programming language, we have the flexible interpreter which provides that with the very few keywords of Python programming language and a simple structure and well-defined syntax, which provides the Python programming language is very easy to read and understand and maintain that Python source code in a very easier manner. And we have an interactive mode that provides we can get started with the Python program testing at the faster pace, and we can do the debugging. Apart from that, Python has plays a vital role in different segments like machine learning and data analytics, and we have in the computer vision and mathematical calculations and scientific manipulations. Python plays vital role on each and every places, and it comes with the very broad standard library set which are portable to different platforms, and it has a cross-platform compatibility so that whatever the Python programming we are developing, it can be executed on the different platforms on Windows, Linux, and Mac OS as well. The Python program or application we are developing, it has the capability to run over anywhere. Includes different platforms, Windows, Linux, Mac OS. The Python programming language has very limited or simple syntax and keywords, which makes us to work with or develop that Python programming in a quickly and integrate the system into more efficiently into the to create a application. Basically, an Python programming language is an very easy to learn and use the Python. Let's get started with the Python development over here. In order to development of Python programming, we need an IDE, and the PyCharm is an integrated development environment for professional Python developers. It basically includes all the tools needed for Python development in one place. For example, here we have the option that here we have the PyCharm got installed over here, and we can download that PyCharm from internet over here. This basically comes from with the two different versions. One is full-fledged professional and another one is a community version. For example, professional version is a costly, a fee-based one, and it has comes with the 30 days free trial. And community version is completely free and open source. The community version is particularly and specifically for an pure Python development. In case of a professional PyCharm, it can be used for the scientific and web Python application development, included with the HTML, JavaScript, and SQL. Multiple supported has been is available in the professional version. We can use the community version to get started with our development over here. It's now we will do that. I downloaded that the community version and installed over here. Maybe we can create a new project. I'm going to create a new project, Python program over here, and we have the option to select that. Once we get installed, that we will be having that python.exe, which is an interpreter of this Python, that we can choose the path by selecting over here. Like wherever we are installing that Python, from that we can able to choose that our interpreter path, and we can assign to that our project creation. Once we assigned, we can give that Python program, and I'm going to create a new project over here. I got created with the new project, and it has the PyCharm has a complete tool set in one place. For example, it has the Python console. It has the integrated Python console inside the PyCharm, and we have the terminal that provides to execute the Windows bash command in case of a Windows environment, and we can do that something like a debug and run the Python programs accordingly. Basically, this IDE provides some kind of a flexibility to create our intelligent code completion. For example, I'm going to add a new file, new Python file over here. Maybe I'm going to create sample.py. Here I'm going to type print. Now we got something like the options of the modules, the function arguments, and everything comes over here, which provides a flexibility to for example, I'm just typing PRIN, then the auto completion of the member function comes automatically. And if suppose I typed wrongly, and it will provide something like a error information which will does that on the fly error checking, so that we can clear during our development. Over here I'm going to do hello Python over here, and you can execute that with the help of run and choose that sample. It got executed and we got the output of hello Python got created over here. Yeah, it's basically the IDE helps to run, debug, test application locally, as well as we can connect with the remote location PCs interpreter, and we can do the remote uh, debugging as well. It comes with the professional and community editions that we can use the community edition for our development. Yeah. Yeah. Now the development environment has been set up in order for to get started with our real Python programming development. Similar to that, each programming language will have the data types. Here we have the different data types of Python programming language supported, or something numbers, strings, list, and tuple is the one. Another one is set, and we have the dictionary. These are all the data types are supported by the Python programming language. We will get started with the number over here. Here we have an option, something like a different number types: integer, long integers, float, and complex numbers. Here we have an integer. The Python programming language contains only a signed integer. Python does not support unsigned integer formats. And the previous versions like Python 2.x versions supported with the long integer, but nowadays it was deprecated from Python 3.x. And we have the option for storing the floating point variable. We have the float. Python has been supported with the float variables, and since the Python is used in different scientific and mathematical application, it has been added with the variable data type called complex. Complex is a number which contains real and imaginary part. And we can do that over here. I'm going to open in the Python console inside the PyCharm. All can able to see the screen, the console clearly. Yeah. For example, I'm going to, how can we declare an integer, float, or complex variables in a Python? I'm going to define a variable a equals 40. 40 is an integer. Then the variable got created, a got created with the data type of integer automatically. If suppose I'm creating a variable b equals 34.56 is the floating point, I'm assigning the floating point value 34.56 to the b. Now we will see the variable of b, which is a data type float, is automatically created. The similar way, I'm going to create a complex number c 4 plus 5j. Now we can able to see that the complex number data type variable c has been created automatically. Python does not have any specifier to specify this is an integer variable, this is an float variable, this is the complex number variable. Depends upon the content we are assigning, it automatically creates that particular data type of variables over here. And for example, here we are assigning a equal to 40, and the integer variable becomes the variable a becomes an integer data type. For example, for example, I am going to assign that b equal to 50. 50 is an integer. I am going to assign. Now we can see that the data type of b gets changed to the integer from the float. Basically, that depends upon the content of the value of the variable. It will be assigned with that respective data type automatically by the Python. Yeah. I am going forward. If any queries or questions or doubts, please raise the hand or put it, ping me in chat so that we can get it clarified at that at the time itself. Yeah. This is something like we are defining different variables and with the number data types over here. With there is no, the point is there is no specifier like integer or float or anything in the Python programming language. Depends upon the content we are loading into that particular variable, that variable data type has been assigned automatically and used by the data type is used by the Python programming in an automated manner. Yeah. And we will know something like, for example, character is 0 to 255 and integer is something like 0 to some level. And we here in Python, we does not have any limitation to have it in the integer. For example, I am going to define a equals something like 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to assign a very big number of this much bigger number, and it has been assigned. The content is available over here. Yeah. It does not restricted to that in the Python programming. Integer variable or float variable does not have been restricted to that the range within that it will work. It has no range in the Python programming basically, that we can assign any huge number, any huge integer number to a variable that will get created like an integer variable automatically. Because of that, the long has been removed from our Python programming, so that integer variable itself will handle that very huge number in the Python 3.3 versions. Yeah. For example, if suppose we are creating that multiple values, if suppose we wanted to convert from one format to another format, how can we do? For example, I'm going to declare an variable, float variable f equals 12.3234, and I wanted to convert into the integer format. Then I can use int of f. Int is the function which converts that any floating point value into the integer format over here, which basically that in the floating point the precisions are removed, and we will get the only the integer part of the decimal part of the floating point value we are getting during the conversion. The similar way, yeah, integer variable can be converted into the float variable, a float data type with the help of float function. Maybe I'm going to declare an variable 40 and float of a, which converts the integer variable 40 into the float variable 40.0, which converts it accordingly. For example, maybe I'm defining another variable f1 equals float of a, then f1 data type is created like a float, basically. That which means that we are converting an integer variable into the float and assigning to that a variable of f1. Because of that, we got the f1 data type as float. Hello? Registered in our research center. At this moment, I will give to the student. On the advisory committee member in recommending the syllabus. Yeah. And we can use the same, we can use the complex is the function which can be used to convert real and imaginary parts into the complex number. For example, I have the real number of 40 and imaginary number of 20 over here. I wanted to get the complex number, complex of real, comma, imaginary over here, and sorry, I missed x complex over here, which provides something like a real is 40, 40 plus 20j is the complex number we got created. And if suppose we wanted to convert the integer into the complex and complex into the integer, if the value of the imaginary part is 0, we can able to do that. For example, I am going to define a complex variable d equals something like 30 plus 0j. I am going to define 30 plus 0j, which created a complex number 30 plus 0j. 0j in that imaginary part is 0 and real part is 30. We can convert this complex variable into an integer int of d. Sorry. We cannot convert from the complex to integer. In case of we wanted to create a complex number with the imaginary part is 0, we can do that with the help of real equals 40, and maybe I'm going to do complex of real. Then we got created with the 40 plus 0j is the one which provides the complex number. And if suppose we wanted to add an imaginary part, maybe we can give the imaginary part value so that we can able to get the real and imaginary part of the complex number. The next data type we are going to see over here, which is an string. String is basically an character sequence enclosed with a quote. In the Python programming, a string can be defined with a single quote and double quotes and then triple quotes as well. For example, here I am going to declare, maybe I am clearing this. Yeah. Here I am going to declare a string, maybe a name, and name is Python with the single quote over here. And we can also define a string variable n1 with double quotes over here, and we can also define a string variable with triple quotes like this. We have the triple quotes over here, and I'm going to type Python. If we see that these three variables over here, we in which format we create the string, all will be stored in the same form, same manner, like with a single quote. For example, name has been created with a single quote. It gets stored in a single quote format, and we have the n2 get we are created that string variable with the three quotes, that also saved like a single quote format, and n1 has been created with the double quotes. It also saved in same format of single quotes in the Python memory. Here we it provides a flexibility, something like we can define a string with a single quote and double quotes, and as well as triple quotes basically. And we can use something like yeah, if suppose we wanted to print the variable, we can use print of name over here, that provides content of the variable onto the terminal basically over here. And if suppose we wanted to get the length of the string, yeah, we can able to get the string length with the help of len function. That len is the function which provides which gives that length of the string, as well as len can be used for different purpose that we will see uh, over these sessions. We have that got created with the string variable, and we have the option to move forward. uh, in order to play that different operation, we have the different operators like arithmetic operators, and we have the relational operators, we have the bitwise operators, we have the assignment operators. The assignment arithmetic operators does the different jobs, something like add the two operands and place the result, subtract the two operands from the and multiplies the operands and divides the operand, and we have the modulus operand as well. For example, here we have the variables over here. I am going to declare a variable a, integer variable 40, and I have the variable integer 20. I am creating a addition c equals a plus b, a plus b, which generates 40 plus 20, 60, and the 60 is an integer. C variable got created with the integer format, and suppose a c equals a minus b, then we will have that variable got created in the integer format, and suppose c equals a multiplied by b, then we got created with the integer format. For example, I am going to do the division a divided by b, which will create an output of float variable over here. For example, here we can able to see that c got created in the floating point, because for example, during the division we will be getting the precision output. In order to capture that output in a proper manner, the variable will automatically get created in terms of float. For example, in the C programming, if you are dividing 7 divided by 2, then we will, the integer variable 7 divided by 2, then we will get only 3 as another integer variable. here in Python programming, whenever you are dividing a integer by another integer or anything, then the result will be a float variable will be get created over here. In a similar way, the float addition, for example, I am going to do 12.3, and I have that float variable, and the whenever for example f1 equals 13.3 and f2, the float variable 2 is 12.5. Whenever we do addition or multiplication divisions of two floating point variables, then float will be get created. For example, here f is the result, floating point variable got created. If you do f1 minus f2, then also the floating point get created. f1 f equals the floating point variable 1 and floating point variable 2. It provides a floating point variable output. A similar way, f equals f1 divided by f2, the floating point variable got created. In case, if suppose we are adding a integer and a floating point variable, then the result will be a floating point variable. For example, I'm getting f equals adding an integer a plus f1. I'm getting the output of f, which is an data type floating point variable with the 53.3 is the content basically. Similar way, if you do any integer and floating point variable, addition, subtraction, division, multiplication, all those things will result in a data type of floating point variable in the result. The similar way we can do the addition, subtraction of complex numbers as well. For example, I have the complex number C1, which is something like 3 plus 5j, and C2 we have 5 plus 6j. I'm going to create another one, C equals C1 complex number 1 and complex number 2, which creates another complex number, which is real parts are added 3 plus 5 and imaginary parts are added 5 plus 6 11. Like that we will be getting. The similar way we can do that, the multiplication addition of complex numbers as well. Only thing is that integer divided by integer will create a floating point variable, and any integer is added with float, integer is added with subtracted with the float, or integer and floating point two variable operands, or one is integer, another one is floating, then the result will be a floating point variable. Yeah. Then we have an operators of relational operators which provides something like if it is a equals, it provides a true. Yes. What is the single line statement to print every operator output? Which means whether all the operations can be done in a single. Yes, we can do that. Something like for example, we have a equals 20 and b equals 30 and c equals 40. Then for example, I am going to create f equals a plus b into c and maybe divided by a again. That we can add many operations in a single execution as well. Yes. Is this fine? Okay, fine. Then we have the option something like a relational operators. Relational operator which basically relates two operands. For example, equals relates whether both the operands are equal or not. If it will return true in case of both operands are equal, else it will return the false. In case of not equals, it returns true if both operands are not equal, else it will return false. Yeah. The similar way, greater than symbol, which provides returns true in case of first operand is greater than second one, and in case of less than, the first operand will be lesser. In case else cases, it will return false. The similar way, greater than equals and less than equals. Maybe we can see, yeah, simple examples over here. I have an integer variable a equals 30 and b equals 40. Maybe b equals 30. Maybe we can check a equals b. Then it returns true since a and b are equals. Suppose we can check the whether we can able to check, yeah, integer variable and an floating point variable. I'm going to declare an floating point variable 30.0, and if suppose we are checking the floating point variable and integer variable, its value is same, then we will get the true. For example, yeah, even though it is an f is an floating point variable and a is an integer variable, and its content, both the contents are 30, we are getting the output as true. If suppose we wanted to check a not equals f, then we will get false. Similarly, we can do that a greater than b, false since a and b are equals, and we can check a less than b. This also false since a and b are equal. And if it is a lesser, we will get the true. In case of equal and higher, we will get the false over here. For example, we can use greater than equal b, then we will get the true since a and b are equals. And we can check less than equals b, which is also a true since a equals b over here. This is something like a relational operators to check the conditions between the two operands, which will be used during the decision making. How the Python programming flow has to go depends upon the conditional statements. Basically, that all the relational operators will be used to create an conditional expression for different condition evaluation, or in order to make the decision properly. For example, we are providing an input, we have to check whether that input get matched with our expected result or not. That we can do that with the help of relational operators. And we have the option something like the same relational operators can be used to check whether the string are equal or not as well. For example, I'm going to define a string n1 equals something like a Python, and n2 equals another variable, a Python. If suppose I'm going to compare n1 equals n2, then it gets returned true. If suppose we are doing n1 less than n2, it will return false since both are equal. The same way n1 greater than n2, which returns false since both are equal. The same case we can use n1 greater than or equal, it will return true since both are equal, and same way that we can check less than equal and it will get returned true. this can be used for the comparison between two strings. Maybe we can raise a question. I have the string of, for example, I'm printing a equals 30. Maybe I have the string s with the value of 30. If we compare a and s, whether we will get that, what will be the result we will be getting? A equals x s, then we will get written with the false, because uh, because a is an integer, s is will be in the different format basically. Yeah, we will be getting a false. Yeah, okay. And the similar way, for example, if suppose we wanted to do the comparison in terms of its value, maybe we can do a equals integer of s, then we will be getting a true. For example, we are if we wanted to convert, validate whether the string has equal to that particular integer variable, we need to convert that into the integer and we need to check. Either we can convert into the integer or we can convert into the floating point as well. For example, a equals float of s, then it provides true as well, since the conversion of string 30 will return 30 in case of integer, 30.0 in case of a float conversion. Both are same with the content of a. Okay. Yeah. Now we will move forward with the bitwise operators, basically the AND operation, OR operation, and ones complement operation, and exclusive OR operation, and rotate right by number of bits, and left shift rotate left by number of bits. For example, here these bitwise operators can be used only on the integers basically. For example, I have that a equals 40 and b equals something like 45. Then if suppose we do that, a and b, we will get that written output of 40 over here, since that particular bits or get matched with the bit by bit AND operation. And similarly we can do a or b, which will does that complete OR operations between the two variables. The same way we can do a exclusive OR of b, which also will provide something like a 5 result, since both ones will be 0, and if there is a difference, the 0 and 1 will be 1, 1 0 will be a 1, and in case of both zeros, or will be 0 and both ones are zeros basically, in case of exclusive OR operations. And the similar way we can do the rotate right and rotate left. For example, I'm declaring a variable a equals 8, and I'm going to rotate that 8 means D3 bit number D3 has been set in case of a is 8, and I'm going to rotate 2 times. If so, I'm rotating right 8, one rotation will go to 4, another rotation will go to 2. The output should be 2 over here. Now we have the output of A, and I'm going to rotate left 2 times, which means that 8 rotated 1 times will become 16. Another rotation will make it to 32. Yeah, we got the output of 32 accordingly. this provides something like a manipulations of bitwise manipulation of integer variables. And then we have the option something like assignment operators. Assignment operators provide something like assigning the left operand to the right, and we have seen uh, something like assigning, for example, a equals 10, which is something like assigning the operand, the right operand to the left variable, basically, which is an assignment operators. And whatever be the operation, something like it's something like a equals a plus something b, which is similar to that a plus equals b, and same way equals a minus b, which is equals something like a minus equals b over here. And the similar way we have the multiply operation and divide operation, modulus operation, rotate right. For example, a equals a, for example, a equal to 8 and a equals a rotate 2, which is very equals to that a equals 8, and we can do a rotate left equals 2, which is same as this a rotate right, and assignment is similar to a equals a rotate right 2 times. Yeah, the similar way we will be having left shift, which is equals to the a equals a left shift by 2, which is equal to a left shift equals 2, basically, over here. Yeah, here if suppose we wanted to output and input to that program, that we can use, and print is the function to output to the Python console, and input is the function to receive from the Python console, basically. Yeah. Is it fine till now? Any queries and clarifications? Okay, fine. Maybe here we have some options in the PyCharm. For example, if suppose we wanted to reset the Python interpreter, then we can use this one, so that it will get the Python console will get restarted, and whatever the variable we have defined, that will be get cleared since we restarted the Python console over here. Yeah, I have the option something like we can say print of hello Python. This basically prints the output to the Python console. The similar way we can read that input from the Python console. For example, I have the information a equals input function, and it will ask for user to feed the input. Maybe I'm going to enter my name Hariharan over here, and whatever be the value we are providing to the input, it will be stored in the form of string variable data types. For example, a equals input, I'm going to give 30 is an integer, but 30 will be stored like a string into the variable a. The same way, if suppose we are providing a floating point variable 12.34, and that also will be stored in the form of string. We should take that all the variables, all the input feed from the user using the input function will be a string variable. If suppose we wanted to do any mathematical checking, we have to convert that into the respective format. For example, I'm going to check the input. I'm providing something like a 10 is the input. If suppose I wanted to check whether the input value is integer 10, then I have to check convert into the integer of a equals 10 over here, which provides true. For example, that whatever the value received from the input will be a string data type, and then if suppose we wanted to use that arithmetic or relational operations with the numbers, we need to convert into the respective number format, and then only we have to do with the input over here. Yeah. Here we have the option something like to feed an input, and we can get the thing. And if suppose we wanted to, even though we are providing a floating point variable to an input, that will be a string basically. I am giving 12.23, that will be saved in the variable a as a data type of a string variable with content of 12.33. If suppose we wanted to convert, maybe we have to use float of a, which converts the string into the floating point variable. This provides some basic introduction about the different data types, the data types like numbers and string. In the numbers, we have the three different data types: integer, float, and complex. And we have the string. String is another data type, and in order to do the manipulation, we can use the different operators, something like a arithmetic operator, relational operators, and we have an bitwise operator. Bitwise operators are applicable only for the integers, and then we have the assignment operators. And now we move on to the next. Now we wanted to move on to the next data type, which is called list. List is a data type which is very similar to array in C programming, and list basically contains a series of values. In case of array, we will have one format of data. In case of Python programming, it is very flexible, so that we can have the list with different types of data in the list. And the list can be declared by using the brackets over here that we will see. Maybe I'm going to restart the console. Yeah. I'm going to declare a list. List equals over here, which provides list equals to brackets, which provides an empty list. If suppose we wanted to create a list with the data, maybe I'm going to create a list which is an subject list with information something like maybe max, and then physics, and then we can have chemistry over here. which has the information of subject of 3 elements. Then we can have the len function to get the number of elements, maybe len of list, which is an empty list, which will be a 0 elements, and len of subject list, which contains 3 elements, max, physics, and chemistry. It has the 3 elements. In order to access that each element, we can have something like this is an index 0, max is index, physics is index 1, and we have the chemistry is index 2. For example, we can do sub of 0, which provides max is a string, and sub of index 1, which is an physics, sub of index 2, which is an chemistry. If suppose we have unintentionally called beyond that, then we will get that the index out of range error basically over here. Since the list only contains 3 elements, which is an index 0, 1, 2, we are trying to access the third element which is not present in the list, then we have getting the error of index out of range over here. And the list can be manipulated accordingly. For example, if suppose we wanted to append or add the data in the dynamic manner, we can do that with the help of list dot append. Over here, I am going to add a list with the first element, something like maybe Nivi is the name I'm going to include. And if suppose we do the print of list, we have that the empty element has been added with the one element of Nivi, which is appended into it. If suppose we are adding into the subject dot append, maybe I'm going to add biology over here. And if suppose we are printing the subject, we got biology got added at the end of the element over here. For example, max, physics, chemistry was there already. Whenever we are appending, it is the object has been added at the end of the current list. For example, here max, physics, chemistry is the last element, and that the new one we are appending biology get appended at the end of this list. If suppose we wanted to insert at specific location, we can do that with the help of insert function, something like a subject dot insert. We have the option in the subject. This is an index 0, this is an index 1, this is an index 2, this is an index 3. If suppose we wanted to include something, a value education between max and physics that I wanted to include into the location of index 1, we can give index 1, and then we have given something like a education over here. That education is the object that will be get added into the subject at the location of index 1. Since we are using that insert at the index number 1 with the object this object get inserted into this list at the index number accordingly. And we have the option to pop and remove that item which is added lastly. Here we have inserted education is the one which is inserted lastly. That we can able to do that with the help of subject.pop, which will pop out the last inserted data. For example, which pop outs that last lost data which is present in the list. Basically, that lost data which is present is the biology, which is get popped out with the help of subject.pop. If suppose we are again doing now, we will see that the information, sorry, print of subject, we only have four elements: maths, education, physics, and chemistry. If suppose we are doing another pop, then we will be getting the value of chemistry out from it. Something like the last element is chemistry, which will be popped out from that list subject. While the list creation does not limited to a single format of data type, it can be a multiple format. For example, I'm going to create a list one which can contain an integer 20 and a floating point variable 12.34 and then complex variable 4 plus 5j and then a string data type over here. This basically a list can be created with the mixture of data type as well, and it does not limited to the one single data type. We can create a list with a mixture of data type, and we can able to access with respect to the index. Basically, the similar way we can create an list, maybe a list of marks. I'm creating a list with the marks over here, and maybe a marks. All the marks will be an integer uh, integer value. I'm going to define something like a 45, comma 30, comma 90, comma 75, comma, and then we have 98. That we got created a integer variables, and if suppose we wanted to make that uh, ascending order, that we wanted to do, then we can use something like a option. For example, we have the option something like marks dot sort, which provides something like a key equals none and reverse is false, which provides a ascending order. And whenever we do print of marks here, we got the values are aligned in ascending order: 30, 45, 75, 90, 98. Actually, the list got created with the values of 45, 30, 90, 75, 98. Once we done that sorting, that particular list will be assigned in the ascending order. If suppose we wanted to make that particular list into the descending order, then we can do that marks dot sort and then key equals none, then reverse equals false, sorry, reverse equals true, then the list will be sorted in a descending order, and we can able to print of marks here, which makes that the list in the descending order, which is something like 98, 90, 75, 45, 30, like that. The list has been made in the format of descending order. If suppose we wanted to do something like marks dot reverse, sorry, marks dot reverse, it's something like reverse in the sense the first element will go to the last, first element will be last element, the next to first element will be previous to last element, like that. For example, here we have the option 98, 90, 75, 45, 30. This will be completely reversed with the help of reverse function. Basically, if we print of marks over here, we got that the 98 is the first element here in the marks, that goes to the last element, and the next to the first element becomes the previous to last element, and the same way it follows accordingly. It basically completely reverse that particular list list of information. For example, we have the list something, we do reverse sorting, everything. It can be done with numbers only. If suppose we have the mixture of uh, data type present in the list, which we cannot do these operations basically. For example, we have the list one, which contains the four different data types. One is an integer, another one is a floating point variable, another one is a complex variable, another one is a string data type. If suppose we tried to do that list of sort, then we will be getting something like a error, and the complex number cannot be do the sorting. Basically that we are providing the sort is the function which receives that reverse key. Reverse is the element that will be set to true, so that reverse is set to true because we will be getting in order to make that descending order, that which means that if we does not give the argument, reverse will normally be false. For example, we can see over here, and marks dot sort, we have that option, which is these two or default one, key equals null and reverse equal to false. This is the default one for this argument. If we does not set anything, that will be, these two variables will be key none and reverse is false. And if we does not give any option, if we wanted to change that functionality, then we have to give that the option something like a key equals none, and we wanted that the list has to be sorted in the descending order. Because of that, we are giving reverse equals true, which means reverse is true means that the sorting will be reversed, so that the highest number will be in the first and lowest number will be in the last element of the list over here. Because of that, we are providing that options in order to make it's a kind of a argument to that function, in order to make a reverse sorting. And if we does not give any argument, it will be like a forward sorting basically. Is it fine? Okay, fine. Now we have options, something like, for example, here we have an option, something like mocks dot, maybe we can do if you wanted to do how many counts. For example, we have an list, marks is the list, print marks, we have the list in. If suppose we wanted to check how many number of 45 is present in that particular list, for example, for that I am going to give marks dot count of value 45 I am giving, that provides one count is present. If suppose we give 49 in the list, then 0 is present over there. And if suppose we wanted to confirm something like whether 45, we can use an in command, something like 45 in marks, that provides true, which means that 45 is the element which is present in the 45 is the element value which is present inside the list element value. maybe we can check 50 is present in the marks. False, because there is no element with the value of 50 present over here. If suppose we wanted to get the count, maybe I'm going to add marks dot append, another one 45 over here, and another one 45. If suppose we are printing marks over here, we got added 2 times 45. Now if suppose I'm doing marks dot count of value 45, then we got the number of 3, which means that 3 times that particular value is present inside that list basically. If suppose we wanted to remove some of the values, for example, marks dot remove the value 45, all the values present inside the index, that will be get removed accordingly. For example, the first here, after removing, we can print the marks. The first occurrence of the 45 is here, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is the place 45 is present. That was removed when we do marks dot remove. The same way, if suppose we do another one more time, marks dot remove of 45, then the first occurrence will be this 45 and this 45 will be present over here. And if we do the print of marks, that this 45 has been removed and we have the 45 present over here. And if suppose we wanted to copy that or duplicate a list, we can use the function of copy. Maybe I'm going to declare an M is the list and wanted to marks dot copy over here, which provides completely copy that particular list content to the another one. If suppose we print M, then we will have that option, something like a complete list values or copied to the variable M and created like a list over here. It's something we can say duplication of duplication or copying that complete list into the another list basically. And we have the option something like M dot clear, that will clear that all the elements and it will be the list will become an empty. For example, I did a M dot clear, that I just cleared the list, and if suppose I do the print, we have the empty list which is present as M over here. And we have the options list dot pop, index, sort, and reverse extend. If suppose we have the two lists, for example, list 1 has the information of something like maybe the subjects English, German, and then French, and then I am having another list with the L2 with max, comma, physics, comma, maybe a chemistry over here. For example, if suppose I wanted to extend the list, maybe I can do that L1 dot extend of L2, which provides something like L1 is get added into the L1 at the end basically. That we will see after extend. Now we can print the L1, which something like it has been added. The L1, the previous content L1 is English, German, and French. The another list max, physics, chemistry has been added into that list L1 basically over here. And this kind of a list manipulation can be done with the Python programming, and list is useful in case of we process that array of data or sequence of values that we have to process, that we can able to do that with the list over here. Yeah, I think we can wind up the session today. Thanks for, and we can continue that the balance rest of the data types and different exploration like functions and different formattings that we will see on tomorrow. Please feel free to share if you have any questions over here. Okay, if you does not have any questions, maybe we can wind up the session for today. Thanks for attending. Yeah. Hi Dinesh, have any question? Okay, thank you. Uh, when you give hands-on session, means this is something like a hands-on with the programming. We are just starting with that programming with the different data types and different data types of the Python programming, and maybe today the tomorrow sessions will be on the basics. Once we done with the basics, we will move forward with the different implementation, something like Excel data processing and doing the unit testing, and something like uh, different approaches. In order to get started with the real hands-on application development, we today and tomorrow will be like more towards like a Python basics, so that the later point of time we should not come back basically. Yes. Okay. Can we do the same on Anaconda? Yes. Basically, Anaconda provides a virtual environment. Something like virtual environment is needed. For example, whenever you do something like a very high level development, for example, you need to support. You may plan something like developing a project, one project with some dependencies, another project with some other dependencies. Then we need to create and work on Anaconda kind of a virtual environment that will provide flexibility to handle the dependencies in a easier manner. Yeah. You can use the same in on Anaconda as well. Yeah. But the thing is, in order to simplify that, not going to that much complex like a virtual environment, I'm just started with the PyCharm with the simple one. Even when we created, there is a option something like creating with the virtual environment. We have gone to the next option, something like with the just with the existing interpreter by providing that we will see how we can, what is a virtual environment, how can we play with that we will see in the later point of stage. Thank you for attending. If you have any queries, please feel free to share maybe after this session as well. Thank you.